Good evening, and welcome to the Crown Hill Journey. Whoa, I have spent the afternoon with the girls being Crown Hill. I always think of Crown Hill as a female. Mary, Meg, Goldie, and Clara Johnson. So the girls and I have had a really interesting afternoon getting ready for tonight's reading, so I hope you're ready. This chapter is the longest chapter that we will have read so far. So sit back, buckle up. The girls have quite an adventure to share with you this evening. Hi, Karen. Hi, Diane. Thanks for joining us. So a couple of things to bring to mind before we start. The first thing is that, good evening, Peggy. Welcome. The first thing to remember is that Rose, who we met in Edward Randall's book, she is the innocent young child who Mary felt strongly could help her to pass, but it did not work. But Rose's real name is Margaret Rose Jennings. Her mother is Elizabeth Jennings. So those two things you need to keep in mind. And also the other detail you need to keep in mind is that both Meg's realtor, Catherine Winston, and her neighbor, Lee Wilson, suggested that she reach out to Clara Johnson. Meg recognizes the name but can't remember why, and then finally realizes that Clara is a woman who approached her very first time in Eden when she was eating breakfast at the Four Corners Diner. And Clara came up and spoke to her, and then before she left said, "Call me, dear, when you're ready." It's kind of intriguing thing to say. So those are the things you need to remember for tonight. As I said, this is the longest chapter that we've read so far. And the girls, being Clara, Meg, Mary, Crown Hill, and Goldie, have got a lot going on for you tonight. So sit back, buckle up. It's going to be a very fun evening. Baileys, we are celebrating this chapter tonight. And glasses. Okay, here we go. Crown Hill, a novel of love, life, and the afterlife. Book 3, Meg. Chapter 15. In the blaze of the morning sun, Meg felt more exhausted than when she had climbed into bed the night before. Once again, she had not slept well, and a groggy feeling laid claim to her mind and her body. Checking Big Ben, the clock showed morning was well underway at 8:48 a.m. What is up with me? I haven't slept this late since I was in high school. Yet the hour in no way inspired the sleepy woman to action. Instead, Meg rolled over into a comforting snuggle and closed her eyes. Half-heartedly, she tried to imagine a reason to rise and shine, as her mother used to say. As her eyelids met, Meg experienced a vague memory of dreams from her restless night. Within the recall, she realized a familiarity. She was once again seated in a chair in her living room with various people around her. Yet this time, something was different. This time, someone unknown but indefinably familiar approached her and spoke. Who was this person? No one from her family. No one she remembered from growing up or from her married life. Someone from Eden? So far, she hadn't met that many people. There was Brady, Jake, Catherine, Jethro Tull, Frankie B. the egg guy, the sweet little lady at the diner. What was her name? Oh, yeah, Clara Johnson. Clara Johnson! The thought of the woman propelled Meg directly up and out of the bed. Shedding her PJs and ducking under the shower, she tried not to feel panicked. Her phone conversation with Clara the previous evening had been interesting, a bit on the creepy side, but interesting. In the end, the two women agreed to lunch at Crown Hill today, Sunday, at noon. Although Meg was still a bit foggy, she was fully aware that the day was Sunday, and it was but a few hours from noon. Clara Johnson would soon be standing at her door. Throwing on a sleeveless pink blouse, thankfully cleaned and ironed, Meg added a pair of white linen slacks and some comfy pink flats. Grabbing a cotton eyelet sweater, she called out to Goldie to head to the kitchen. Swirling through the house, Meg created a menu using items from the freezer, the refrigerator, and the pantry. She found ingredients to whip together her favorite pecan apple chicken salad, using spinach greens for a base. Next, she blended a batch of her homemade orange poppy seed dressing to pour on top. She decided to complement the main course with muffins from Catherine Winston's gift basket. Meg knew there was a reason she put those baked goods in the freezer instead of eating them right away. Finally, she brewed a pitcher of blueberry lemon iced tea and layered together fresh strawberries and ice cream for a perfect summer dessert. 20 minutes later, Meg's luncheon menu was ready and waiting. Next, she moved to preparing the table. The attentive hostess began setting places in the dining room, but a soft summer breeze from the adjoining porch persuaded her otherwise. Grabbing a card table from the pantry, Meg placed it on the porch, rearranging 2 white wicker chairs for seating. The addition of a sheer white tablecloth, accented with delicately embroidered flowers, furthered her garden luncheon theme. To enhance the setting, Meg partnered a cobalt blue canning jar with wild orange tiger lilies and Queen Anne's lace for a centerpiece accent. At each place, Meg carefully fanned 2 of her great-grandmother's white linen napkins atop blue chintz ruffled placemats. Next, she layered place settings of her mother's delicate rose china and silverware, complemented by gracefully tall azure goblets. Stepping back, she deemed her alfresco setting home and garden gorgeous. Meg felt the need to pinch herself, to understand that the vision before her was not some kind of dream. It was almost beyond her strongest imaginings that Crown Hill and all of its beauty was truly a reality of her home. She was also realizing a sense of welcome within her heart, a joy over the prospect of a visitor coming to Crown Hill. Clearly, the delightful lunch with Catherine Winston had lightened Meg's concern over allowing people into her home and her life. Returning to the kitchen, Meg checked the clock. Just short of 11 a.m., an hour to spare. With everything in good order, Meg poured herself a glass of iced tea and was about to head out for a swing on the porch when the telephone intervened. How life had changed in just a few short weeks, Meg mused. A ringing phone was becoming a normal part of her world again. She had to admit it felt good. Good morning. Good morning to you, Miss Flynn. How are you and Goldie this beautiful June day? The sound of Brady's voice delivered a pleasurable shiver through Meg's body. Good thing he's on the other end of the phone and not standing next to me, Meg thought in embarrassed delight. Catching her breath and trying to control her excitement, she responded, I'm good, thank you, Mr. Callahan. Have you been to church and finished your chores yet? I have, in fact, although my father caught me on the way out of church. He's got a bad gasket on one of the tractors and needs a hand fixing it. I'm actually headed over there in a few minutes. Figure if I play my cards right, my mother will feed me Sunday dinner as well. Mindful that playfulness was part of their burgeoning friendship, Meg offered a quick retort. Oh, really? Your mother is cooking for you? After all your bragging last night about making food for our picnic, I just assumed you took care of all the meals, Mr. Master Chef. Sharp-witted even on a Sunday morning, eh, Margaret Rose? Well, if you must know, I find no shame in admitting that I encourage my mother to feed me whenever she wants. She's a great cook, and as a bonus, she always sends me home with leftovers. As for our picnic, I am no master chef, as you suggest, but I have a few dishes that I've kind of perfected. Actually, I enjoy being in the kitchen. I like taking foods that I've grown and blending them into meals that taste good. With an easy laugh, Brady added, Besides, being on my own is pretty much cook or starve. The reference to his solitary lifestyle caught Meg off guard. The words she next spoke were delivered straight from her heart. Brady, I am truly glad that we have met. You are a very special person, and I'm looking forward to spending the 4th of July together. It was more than she really wanted to reveal to this man, still a stranger in so many ways. Yet Meg was relying on her gut instinct in concert with her heart, and both were leading her straight to Brady Callahan. Well, I am honored. An actual compliment from the usually sassy Ms. Flynn. I'll be walking around with a smile on my face all day. All right, Brady Callahan, if you're going to make fun of me when I try to be sincere, then I'm not going to say nice things to you ever again. Come on, Meg. You know I'm just teasing. Honestly, I am glad you told me. I feel the same. Thinking about spending the 4th of July together makes me happy. And as I shared with you on your porch last week, I've not been happy in a very long time. The raw emotion accompanying Brady's words touched Meg in a way that she had rarely experienced. Again, she found herself wondering when this good-hearted person was going to morph into the callous type of man she had known most of her life. At the same time, like a child waiting for Christmas, Meg wanted with all of her heart to believe. I'm going to say goodbye now, Miss Meg, before you decide to take back all your sweet words. I'll give you a call later, if that's okay, after dinner. Then we can talk about our plans for the July 4th picnic. Meg wanted to tell Brady that he couldn't hang up unless it meant that he was coming directly to Crown Hill to be with her. But she knew that she needed to keep her feelings in check. Too fast and too soon was not the way for true hearts to connect. Plus, Clara Johnson would be at her door in a matter of minutes. Actually, it would be nice to chat later, and I have to go as well. Clara Johnson is coming for lunch today. Do you know Clara? Brady's answer to her question was immediate. Everyone in town knows Clara. She's older than the hills and has been a part of all that's gone on in Eden for as long as I can remember. Well, I met her on my first day in town at the Four Corners Cafe, Meg recalled. I don't really know her, but I decided to invite her for lunch after talking to my neighbor, Lee Wilson. Lee suggested that Clara would know details about the history of my house. I'm not sure how or what this lady knows, but I'm interested in finding out. Brady responded with a bit more information. Like I said, Clara's been around forever and basically knows everything about everybody. Plus, she does this thing. She tells people about their lives. I don't know exactly what it's all about or how it works. I do know a lot of people swear on the Bible that she's told them something from their past that they never knew, or things that are going to happen that eventually come to be. Brady's words struck a chord, reminding Meg of her first meeting with Clara and the sweet woman's suggestion to call when she was ready. Meg remembered thinking the woman's words were odd at the time, and felt more so now after listening to Brady. To be honest, Brady, when I talked to her on the phone last night, she creeped me out a bit. When I explained why I was calling, she said that she already knew why and had been waiting for me. I really didn't know what to say to her. Before Brady could respond, there was a knock on Meg's door, accompanied by an engaging voice, calling her name. Hello, Meg, dear. It's Clara Johnson. Okay, Brady, I've got to go. Clara's here already. Talk to you later, okay? Following quick goodbyes, Meg hung up the phone and headed to the back door. There, already in place, stood Goldie, welcoming Clara with tail-wagging barks. Hello, Clara. It's so good of you to come. Gently taking a hold of Goldie's collar, Meg opened the door with her free hand, making room for the petite, older woman to enter. Please come in. This is Goldie. She's a love and won't hurt you. She just believes that she is the official greeter here at Crown Hill and is obviously devoted to her job. My. Well, as the official greeter, I must say hello to you first, Goldie. You are a beautiful girl and a very welcoming hostess. Bestowing a few soft pats on Goldie's head, Clara turned her attention to Meg. "It's so nice to see you, Meg. Thank you for inviting me to lunch today. I hope you don't mind that I'm a bit early. It's been many years since I have been at Crown Hill, and I am most eager to return." Meg immediately became aware of a purple aura materializing around Clara. Spirituality. How interesting, Meg thought, especially in light of all that Brady had just told her. She also found herself wondering how the afternoon with this intriguing woman might evolve. "Let's go out to the porch, Clara. I have lunch all ready for us." Meg set plates of chicken salad and a basket of muffins on her garden table, along with the tall, clear pitcher of iced tea. Within minutes, the two women were comfortably settled into their wicker seats, engaged in delicious conversation about food and recipes, flowers and gardens, pets they had owned and loved, and random stories about life. As mid-afternoon approached and the women finished their strawberry sundaes, Clara placed her napkin on the table with a request. "Meg, would it be too much to ask for a tour? I have spent many special memories of here at Crown Hill and would love to relive some of them with you." "Clara, I'd be pleased to take you through my home. As I explained last night, one of the reasons I invited you was because of your knowledge of Crown Hill. I look forward to hearing your stories." Meg had decided not to mention Marion Owen Southwick or Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Somehow she sensed it was important to let Clara share her Crown Hill memories on her own terms. Moving from the porch, the women stepped inside to the adjoining dining room. Without pause, Clara began her remembrances. "Oh, the wonderful memories I've known in this house. My best friend growing up was Flordy George. She and I were like sisters. We spent most every day and many nights together at her house, just down the road, across from where Lee Wilson and her husband now live. Flordy was an only child, glad for the company, and I was the youngest of 5 brothers, glad for the chance to escape. Flordy's mother, Dorothy, was a close acquaintance of the Randall family, who owned Crown Hill in the 1920s. Actually, the Randalls lived in Buffalo, but spent their summers here in Eden. Flordy and I got to know their 2 teenage daughters quite well, as they occasionally served as our babysitters. I have to say, we were pretty much worshipped the Randall girls, as they were beautiful and stylish, much more sophisticated than any of the Eden teens that we knew. They were also sweet and kind, often inviting us to spend time with them here at Crown Hill." As Clara continued, Meg guided her into the living room, where the sharp-minded woman shared remembrances of times she and Flordy played with the Randall sisters in what she called the parlor. Her blue eyes sparkled with delight in describing the richly upholstered mohair furniture where they sat and read books, and the piano in the triple bay window where they sang away rainy summer afternoons. Following the house's circular design, Meg and Clara strolled from the living room back into the dining room and through the swinging door to the kitchen. There, Clara visually swept through the room, becoming momentarily transfixed by the picture window framing Crown Hill's yard and outbuildings. "Could we go up the back stairs to the bedrooms, dear? I think I'd like to save the kitchen for last." Meg had no reason to deny the request. This was Clara's trip down memory lane. Whatever allowed her to best recall the house's history was fine. While Goldie excitedly bounded ahead, the women steadily climbed the enclosed back stairs to the second floor. Moving through the upper rooms, Clara shared engaging stories of hide-and-seek games, teddy bear tea parties, crisscross your heart secrets, and girlish giggles. Meg felt as if Clara's words were actually reviving the childhood joys that had once echoed throughout Crown Hill. Upon exiting the last of the bedrooms, Meg cautiously led her guest down the front staircase, pausing on the landing for a brief rest. Clara was clearly tiring, which concerned Meg. Yet within a few moments, the sprightly 83-year-old was re-energized and ready to continue down the stairs into the kitchen. "If you don't mind, Meg, I'd like to sit down now." In direct response, Meg pulled out one of the press-back chairs set around the clawfoot kitchen table. "Can I get you a cup of tea, Clara?" Meg thought caffeine might energize the unsteady woman. "Oh, thank you, dear, but I'm fine, really. I just need for you to come and sit by me. I have something I need to share, a gift I brought you. But first, would you bring me my purse? I believe I set it on the shelf by the back door when I came in the house." Respectfully, Meg retrieved the quilted patchwork bag and set it before Clara, gently slipping into the seat next to her. The kitchen immediately became filled with the sounds of Clara searching through her purse, pulling out an assortment of notepads and tissues, keys and change purses, even a roll of pennies. Finally, the determined woman extracted a small, leather-bound notebook, appearing much like the journal Meg's mother once kept. Seeing it on the table, Clara turned directly to Meg. "When we spoke last evening, I told you that I'd been waiting for you to call. Truthfully, it's much more than that. I've been waiting for you to come to Eden and to Crown Hill for many years." Meg could feel the tingle of the red spread beginning in her feet, yet concern over its heated advance was the furthest thing from her mind. At the moment, Meg was completely immersed in trying to comprehend Clara's words. "I'm sure that my statement sounds quite ominous to you, and I don't mean it that way, but I have knowledge of you and your connection to this house that goes back more than a century. I know why you are here now." Meg's body burst into a full-out flush, perspiration forming on her forehead, collecting along her back and armpits. What was this odd little woman talking about? It sounded like madness to Meg, yet somehow felt like the truth. That's what scared her the most. Somewhere in her gut, Meg knew Clara Johnson was speaking honestly about her fated arrival at Crown Hill. "Meg, I know that you have heard the story of Mary Southwick and the terrible end to her life that occurred here. It is a part of this home's past that has remained an enduring part of its presence. But what you don't know is the continuation of Mary's story, specifically as it relates to the Randall family." Meg closed her eyes, determined to focus solely on Clara's words. As the purposeful woman continued, her story began to weave together within Meg's imaginings. "For many years, there have been rumors about Crown Hill being haunted by Mary Southwick's ghost. For many years, my intuitive powers have allowed me to know the truth, that Mary's spirit was indeed part of Crown Hill, that the tragic circumstance of her death trapped her here in an earthly purgatory. Like any spirit so imprisoned, Mary's sole chance of redemption required a connection to a living soul who could provide her the needed strength to pass." Within Meg's mind, a vision began to form, misshapen at first, as if warped in a distorted mirror. As Clara continued to speak, the image came into focus. Meg discerned a woman, distant and unfamiliar. Who was she? The question burned in Meg's mind until Clara's descriptive words helped to reveal the same woman who had come to Meg in her dreams over the last several nights. The woman who told Meg that she had been waiting for her. The woman whom Meg now understood to be Mary Southwick. I did not experience Mary Southwick's spirit in any of the times that Flordy and I visited Crown Hill, Clara continued. However, a young girl who moved to Sandrock Road in the 1920s did have such experiences. She was actually the daughter of a nanny for the Spaulding family who once lived in Lee Wilson's house. Through the power of Clara's words, a young girl entered Meg's vision. Meg recognized the delicate child as part of her recent dreams. She recalled the girl off to one side in the living room, quietly seated on a footstool. Clara continued. One spring day when Flordy and I were outside, this young girl came across the road to play with us. As soon as we met, I could see that she was filled with goodness and light, and I felt a sense of the girl's special powers come over me. A short time later, I heard that she was working with Edward Randall and his house guest, the famed author, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I was never a direct witness to anything that transpired among them here at Crown Hill, but I can tell you that after several days of working together, their collaboration abruptly ended. Further, within weeks of that abrupt end, the young girl and her mother moved from Eden, severing all connections with our town. Equally as mystifying, within a short period, Edward Randall himself departed and sold Crown Hill, never to return. Meg envisioned the deed to Crown Hill that she had received upon purchasing the farm. There was a title section that included the handwritten signature of every owner in the property's history, including hers. The precise signature of Edward Randall stood out now in her vision. It empowered Meg to see the man, actually feel his presence. In her imagining, he stood next to Mary Southwick, as if protecting her. His position clearly revealed the importance of that responsibility to Randall's spirit. No one ever knew why this girl and her mother or the Randalls left Eden so hurriedly. It was really quite peculiar. I was 10 years old at the time, and I still remember people in town gossiped about it. There were rumors of spiritual affairs and inappropriate behavior by Edward Randall. And of course, there were stories about the house being haunted by Mary Southwick. But truth be told, nothing was ever proven, and no one really knew what had happened here. Meg's vision continued, connecting Mary and Edward with the young girl. She could see the kindness and protective feelings shared among them. They appeared much like a family to Meg, and she found comfort in that image as Clara spoke again. One day, following all of the puzzling departures, I was walking past the Spauldings' house on my way to Flordy's. It was trash day, and some of the neighborhood dogs had pilfered through the Spauldings' trash cans, rubbish strewn across their property. As I passed by the debris, I noticed the edge of what appeared to be a book. Being a curious child, I stopped and stepped closer and verified that it was indeed a book, leather-bound, gold-edged. Looking around to ensure that no one was watching, I snatched the soft-covered journal and stuffed it into my coat pocket. There I left it for the rest of the day until I returned home, never telling anyone about my pocketed treasure, not even Flordy. Meg felt suddenly uncomfortable within the boundaries of her imaginings. Forcing her eyes wide open, she decided to focus intently on Clara as the sage woman continued her tale. Once in the security of my own bedroom, I locked the door and set about reviewing the discarded journal. Upon closer inspection, I found an inscription on the inside cover that I can still recall to this day. It read, "Herein is written the story of Crown Hill and the spirit who claims it, as I came to know them." Below that inscription, there was a date, June 1922. Below the date appeared the signature of the writer, Margaret Rose Jennings. The same Margaret Rose Jennings, my dear Meg, who was your grandmother. When Clara Johnson crossed my threshold that day, I never imagined she would resurrect a century and a half of life within me and immerse Meg in the most startling parts. As the intuitive woman proceeded through my being, room to room, I drew close to Meg to ensure her comfort. When the two settled in the kitchen, I remained vigilant as Clara guided Meg through the shared journey of Mary, Edward, and Rose. Watching the innocent woman experience the complex tale was heart-wrenching. I knew the twists and turns that Clara was about to reveal before she revealed them, and still I found the experience overwhelming. I could only imagine how it felt to Meg, who was unaware and yet so deeply connected. Upon Clara's revelation of Rose's journal, I moved to encircle both women in my protective care. It was obvious that the news of her grandmother's history within my walls bewildered Meg, as her complexion paled and her breathing became shallow. Next, witnessing Rose's handwritten Crown Hill experiences in the journal seemed to advance Meg to a state of frightened disorientation. My own fear at that moment was that the sum of these shocks could cause the usually resilient woman to give out, both in body and mind. Mercifully, it appeared Clara held the same concerns, as she clasped her hands around Meg's and forced the strength of her spirit to flow between them. Slowly, Meg revived. Delicately, Clara began again, this time detailing Rose's life after departing Crown Hill. Clara began with her memory of a summer day, playing with Flordy at her home. She recalled how, just after lunch, Elizabeth Jennings, Rose's mother, appeared at the Georges' front door. Clara described the woman as clearly distraught, begging for Dorothy George's help. Through emotional sobs, the overwrought woman blurted out that she needed to take Rose and leave Eden immediately, but refused to say why. Dorothy offered to contact her cousin, who lived in the prosperous community of Ridgewood, New Jersey. It was but a few days later when Flordy made Clara cross her heart and promise not to tell that all arrangements had been made for Elizabeth's employment in New Jersey, along with suitable housing for both mother and child. As Clara recalled, in a matter of weeks, Elizabeth and Rose disappeared from Eden as if they never existed, leaving behind all of their worldly possessions, short of the clothes on their backs. Clara's voice softened as she next spoke of a day, 6 years later, a day when Flordy's mother received a letter postmarked from New Jersey. The correspondence was from Rose. It told of Elizabeth's untimely passing, which had forced the young girl to withdraw from high school and seek employment as a housekeeper. Clara recalled the news as devastating to Dorothy, who wrote many return letters to the young girl in sorrowful support. However, all correspondences were returned to sender. Rose was never heard from again. Ultimately, Clara disclosed it was only with Meg's arrival in Eden, in learning her full name and noticing her remarkable resemblance to Clara's best memory of both Elizabeth and young Rose, that the intuitive woman became intrigued and started making the connection between grandparent and grandchild. As Clara finished her story, I wondered what would come next. The woman had exploded an informational time bomb within me, affecting all who were integral to the passing of Mary's spirit at this moment in time. Meg was now aware of Mary and more fully realizing her purpose in coming to Crown Hill. Mary was becoming strongly connected to Meg and her goodness. Clara was serving as the bond between the spirits of both women, helping to advance them along their shared path. And I was in place to support and protect them all as they began their long-awaited journey, a journey that was clearly well underway. So, Peggy Gunther, you knew that Rose and Meg were connected on day one. You wrote that in your comments, so good on you. But for everybody else, I hope it was a little bit of a surprise anyway. It was a surprise to me when it happened. As the writer, you know, you have these imaginings in your head and you sit down and you start writing, and all of a sudden a story takes a twist or a turn you did not know. And that was one that I hadn't necessarily anticipated. So that was exhausting, right? Big twists and turns. We are now down to the last 4 chapters, and it's going to continue to become more involved and more engaging. And kind of amazing to me anyway, and I hope you find it the same way. So I hope that your Sunday was a good day. I know this was a long reading, so I don't want to keep you by blah-blahing on, but please know that I'll be back here tomorrow night at 7:30 for chapter 16 out of 19. We're getting close. I will also be in the morning at 7:30 if you feel like joining me for Heart and Soul Conversation. It's going to be a fun week. We're going to make it fun in every way we can. I know, Peggy. Phew, I get it. Also, I'm going to have a big announcement tomorrow night about our Crown Hill Talkback, which will be on Saturday, May 2nd. And I've got some exciting news for you, so don't miss it. I will tell you at the end of our reading tomorrow night at 7:30. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful finish to your Sunday. Wash your hands, drink a lot of water, sleep well as you can, hopefully better than Meg is sleeping in our book right now, and enjoy everything about life that we have before us right now, because it's what we got and we need to make the best of it, right? So thank you for helping me make the best of it by joining this reading this evening. And I thank you and I wish you a good night. Enjoy the Crown Hill journey.